This is the Bart and Hahn Show on 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app.
It's 12 o'clock in the greatest city in the world. It is Bart Hahn, Alan Hahn, Bart Scott, 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app. What a time it is to be in New York and part of New York sports, because the headlines are just every minute something new happening. And we have for you at the very top of this show breaking news from Adam Schefter that the Jets are finalizing a blockbuster trade for star wide receiver Davante Adams. According to sources, of course, in this deal, the Jets will send a conditional third-round draft pick to the Raiders. It could improve to a second-round pick. The Jets will be assuming the balance of the remaining salary on Davante Adams for this season. The rest of his salary for this season is $17.5 million. It's about $13.5 million still owed through the end of this season. And then, of course, he's still under contract for 2 more years after that, where it jumps up to $36 million a year. Worry about that later. The most important part of this whole thing, Bart Scott, is after last night, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Aaron Rodgers gets his guy, and we all know Aaron Rodgers wanted his guy. Joe Douglas gets a deal done. Hassan Reddick now has been told he can seek a trade. The Jets are trying to move on as quickly as they can from what was yet another maddening loss last night. Before we even talk about the loss last night, Bart, let's just discuss the latest news. Adding Adams to the Jets after what you saw last night from that offense, what does it do?
Well, I'm trying to see what this means for the future of Mike Williams, who's not in the great graces off of that one route that he ran yesterday where he said he wasn't on the red line. This gives Aaron Rodgers a guy that he knows where he's going to be. He knows where he's supposed to be. And, it may take a little bit to knock the rust off, but he's a guy that he's going to give those 50-50 balls. A lot of those balls that's going to Allen Lazard now will go to him. It's like crazy because when you watch Allen Lazard catch the ball, and his run after the catch, you feel like it's Conklin. He run after the catch like a tight end. He has no moves, no yak, no anything. They were able to get Breece Hall some space yesterday, which only adds to the space that Breece Hall will get now. You saw that it was more of a one running back type of solution, not Braylon Allen. It was allowing Breece to get his touches. He ended up with, I believe, 23 touches, 18 rushes. What's crazy when I was talking about in the post game, it looked like Breece hadn't had a lot of carries because he didn't look strong. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when he broke the run to the right before they put him on the restriction against the Bills actually last year, and he ran out of gas. That's what it kind of looked like because we're used to seeing Breece, break angles. He
was tackled on like the 5-yard line.
Right, and that came back to hurt us. Right, because we all know the deal with the field goal and all that stuff. That would have gave us an opportunity to put 7 on the board. That would have changed everything. Their inefficiency within the red zone, 1 of 4. If they scored, Tyron Smith, which I think that was a rinky-dink call, because it's a bailout. It's a bailout when guys on the goal line.
There were a lot of flags there, but let's just stick to the out.
No. That's what I'm getting to.
You're saying that their red zone last night, which was not good enough.
Right. But that's what I'm getting
to. Would be improved with Davante Adams.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It creates more space, right? Davante is like number 1, right, with running that little slip screen where he lines up at number 1. They'll put Allen Lazard on the ball. They'll put him off the ball, and he'll just run underneath Allen Lazard, and Allen Lazard becomes that type of lead blocker, so to speak, for the little pick routes. They do that. They used to do that all the time. He was a master of that because he knows how to draw guys and get them on his back and knows how to flatten out for routes and make himself very friendly for Aaron Rodgers. So, that's what I'm talking about. The game could have went either way, but you kind of take the Hail Mary away, and then you say, okay, this is really what it was. I think it also helps his defense, hopefully. It's tough for me with the whole thing, the ripple effect, because I feel like they want to get Hassan Reddick out of there, but they need Hassan Reddick bad. If not, they need the salary cap space that they have to go get some big bodies in the middle because they just got bullied. And they can say whatever they want. If that's James Cook, I don't know if when they play the second time, if this changes much because of what they were able to do to that defense, which is punch them directly in the mouth. But Davante Adams is definitely going to give them. Now Garrett Wilson could go in the slot at times, which he did yesterday, to very effective. But now it gives them also a deep threat, a guy that we watch in Davante Adams go at the Ravens and kind of toy with them, with being able to lull them to sleep. He's just so crafty. He's a super veteran. He's a guy that is going to catch those 50-50 balls. When you always think about Alan Lazard and his drops, this is a guy that's more sure-handed. It should create opportunities to move the chains. And if now you want to put 8 in the box and blitz, now that's Davante Adams catching the ball. Now that's Garrett Wilson catching the ball. Guys that can make you pay because they can double. If they double Garrett, then that's one-on-one with Adams. If they double Adams, that's one-on-one with Garrett running across the field, potentially away from your second best cornerback. So it creates more space. It would have felt a lot better if the Jets would have signed him after a victory in first place. Now they have work to do. They're basically 2 games back behind the Buffalo Bills. Now they're going to have to be able to get Davante Adams up to speed. He'll probably play this week because I think that hamstring is feeling a little better. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe feeling
on it.
Yeah, maybe feeling just a tad bit better. But also, now they have to go on a run where they have to find a way to beat Pittsburgh. But also with guys coming up like they got teams coming up like the Houston Texans that now they have to get because they lost 2 games that we had them winning with Denver and Minnesota.
Yep. And
yesterday to Buffalo. So now they got to still want to beat an opponent that they shouldn't beat or that we had them 50-50 with. And, they got to ask themselves some questions, though. They look a lot better on offense with Downing moving. I wonder how, Robert Saleh felt about watching, the change at offensive coordinator. Because when I listened to Albrecht and he talked about, hey, or you see like 12 defensive people on the field, you ask yourself, it's just because he wasn't prepared. It's because he was slow with getting the defensive call out there and changing the personnel.
It looked like the defense lost something in this game. And that was, that's something that's a concern, and they'll have to figure all that stuff out. But, when I think about this trade, you think about the inevitability of it, right? Like this has been talked about since last year. This has been talked about since Rodgers got here. They have talked openly about it. It just felt like something that was inevitable. It gets done. What it brings, in my opinion, what it brings to the Jets and what it brings to Rodgers is literally what he always craves. This is his Rob Gronkowski. This is the guy he trusts. This is the vet that he knows, I need vets around me. He's like LeBron James. LeBron James, everybody loves I put young players around LeBron James. No, LeBron James wants veterans around him. Why? Because they don't have to teach you anything. I don't have to wait for you to grow. You already know what you're supposed to do. How many times you see Aaron Rodgers roll his eyes at certain plays?
His body language.
When like Braylon Allen, it just didn't turn his head. He had to get rid of it quick. And he's like, you see him going, how many times do I have to tell you to turn around and look? Like you could tell he's getting impatient at this point with young players. Adams now fixes that problem by giving you another
Adams, Lazard, and Garrett is the guy that Garrett's
the one guy you'll have patience with. But you'll have patience with. And by the way, anybody wondering how Garrett Wilson feels about this, he just tweeted, "We got to go, and we got to do it now." So he's fired up for this. They have a relationship. And so what the Jets have is a reuniting of one of the top duos, quarterback wide receiver duos the league has seen
ever
over the last decade. When you think about from 2014 to 2021, when they were teammates in Green Bay, they combined for 615 completions, over 7,500 yards, and 68 touchdowns. The second most prolific tandem since, the second most prolific tandem in that span is only one other tandem, quarterback, wide receiver, that put up bigger numbers.
Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes?
I think it's no, it's not those two.
Oh?
No. And you think of one quarterback, wide receiver tandem that put up bigger numbers than that.
What, Jerry Rice and Montana?
No, in that span. So 2014 to 2021.
2014.
Yeah, so that era.
Maybe AB and Roethlisberger?
No, that's not a terrible guess. But again, it goes to 2021.
It goes to 2021.
Yeah,
I can't
2014, 2021. I'll help you out.
Cooper Kupp and Stafford?
No, I'll help you out. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones with the Falcons.
Oh, okay.
All right. And that's they had a pretty prolific offense going for a while there too, right?
Yeah,
Matty Ice. So anyways, but that's what the Jets are getting. And they're getting it with an offense that seems to have maybe gotten a little unglued yesterday, right? As far as it's not stuck anymore. It seems like it was a lot better. Now, the flags are still maddening. the penalties, everything else. And then, of course, doinking twice from a field goal kicker that you trust.
He's lost in 2 games.
Yes. And it's amazing to think in the last 3 games, Bart, they have lost by a combined total of 10 points. That's why it's like when you look at the Jets and you see them at 2-4 and people want to already say the wheels are falling off. You heard Troy Aikman, say that last night about how he's worried that this thing can turn. I got to be honest with you. Like when you think about how close you are to winning games, about a field goal kicker basically twice, and this is 2 games where a field goal kicker cost you the opportunity. And Aaron Rodgers had the ball in his hand, which is all we ever said, right? Oh, just have a chance to win with Aaron Rodgers on the field. You're going to win. And he has yet to do that.
And he's going to say, because my wide receivers wasn't on the same page with me, so when I threw the ball and did what I was supposed to do, because I saw the opening in the defense, you did the wrong thing. So that's twice in 2 weeks to Mike Williams too. Like maybe he got off maybe he got off the red line in the back shoulder fade, right? And yesterday, so that's at least what Aaron Rodgers is saying. So I mean, you ask yourself, okay.
So are you saying like do you believe at 2-4? Because Vegas does, and I'll give you the numbers in a minute. Like, does this trade do something?
It does.
For the Jets immediately? What does it do?
It does. It allows them to win because their defense isn't as good as it's been. Because, we talk about sexy Dexy in this town, but Quinnen has been getting double teamed because he has no help around him to get the bullseye off of him. I mean, the kid that they brought in from Arizona, he was inefficient. Kinlaw's inefficient. He gets thrown out the club at times.
Kinlaw had an awful series there where it cost them a chance to score because he just kept taking penalties.
I mean, the PI was whack.
Or he gave him a
like the personal foul was whack because if you look, Josh Allen literally jumps back. Like he grabs him and he jumps,
there was some flopping going on in that field part.
Yeah, that flop from and they're allowed to fall for that. Like he basically just wrapped him up and then he just jumped back. Like come on, man. That was some weak sauce. Stuff right there, but they're just not a smart football team, and they got to figure out. So we used to have this thing, right, where whenever they put the tight end to the nub side, we would blitz our corner. We called it socks, and whenever they did that formation, we did that because we knew what you were trying to do. You were trying to give us a short edge to make our corners tackle. And teams are repeatedly making Sauce have to tackle. And you think that Pittsburgh Steelers aren't eyeing that. So they better get a socks call whenever they get those type of formations because that makes them blitz and allows them to get to the backfield and maybe make the tackle before the running back gets a head start. But the one observation, they test our edges because they know that they can ragdoll Mike McDonald, Will McDonald, because he's light. They didn't even, and Deion Dawkins took the guy that was supposed to be the tough guy and made him indisciplined. See, this is the thing, right?
He got into Clemens' head, and Clemens was once again going at him. They have been going at it for a while. And
Clemens is an overly emotional player.
What do you do with him? Because you can see Ulrich said, I'm going to watch film. They're going to watch some stuff, and they're going to make some tough decisions. Do you finally just say, you know what? You can't play. We can't play you.
Who are you going to put in there? Guess what they tried to do? They tried to put Solomon Thomas on there, and because he's used to working in the middle, even though he's 280 pounds.
Yeah.
And I played the edge at 240 pounds and could hold the edge against people when we went to our certain sink fronts. He was ineffective. He ran straight down the middle, and Deion Dawkins was literally toying with everybody that was over there. They had nobody that can hold Deion Dawkins accountable. So he was just throwing him out of the club. So what happens when you go under somebody and you feel them physically manhandling you? You look for the easy way out. So he ducked his head in twice. Bam. Josh Allen scrambles. That buys him time.
That one was
that puts the defender that's in pass coverage in a dilemma because if Josh Allen runs, he's a load to take down. So then you come up and bam, they throw the touchdown to Knox. That's because simply because you didn't do your job. All you had to do was stay outside and stay disciplined and let him come to you. But no, you were undisciplined. How many times did we see the ball break and bounce to the right side? And then at certain times, they let a dude that we've never heard of rush for damn near 100 yards. They got the ball, ran down their throat 150 yards.
First half was just ridiculous. Yeah,
dude almost had 100
yards. Defense was
yards.
better in the second half, but that first half defense was awful.
That's because they were bailed out by penalties. They never I think Buffalo punted once or twice. So my concern with them is they need to shore up their edges, and they need to get somebody that can play defensive tackle opposite. So maybe if you're going to allow Hassan Reddick to walk and say seek a trade or play.
That's the reports that they told his new representation, Drew Rosenhaus, that they have a little window of time where they could seek a trade.
And if you don't find a trade, shut up. If you don't find a trade,
that's how I think it's going to go down. Right, it'll go down. Or if you can't find one, then you need to report. Yeah,
they definitely need him because they get nothing on the edge and nobody fear. So if you got nothing to fear on the outsides, and the guy next to Quentin Williams is not playing at an efficient rate, who you think gonna get all the problems?
Quentin Williams. Yeah.
Quentin is getting all the problems.
Right.
You know why Sexy Dexy leads the league damn near in sacks if he don't at 9? Because you got Burns, you got Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah, I mean, you have to account for other people.
I mean, if I'm the Jets,
they don't have anybody that's drawing a double or drawing that much attention.
No, or nobody that's doing anything on the edge.
Yes.
If it's a rundown, they can do whatever they want.
Well, it also feels like anytime the other team runs the ball, which we saw in the first half, that front the line of scrimmage just collapses.
Yes.
And all of a sudden there's just an easy hole to go right through. It's maddening. But again, if you're just joining us, the news of the day right now is the Davante Adams trade is going down. As much as it's been talked about over the last year,
here, right?
He's
already here, right?
Has he been rehabbing the hamstring in New York? Because Diana Rossini said that he's in the facility already, which I have not seen the deal is official yet.
Right. Well,
but he's in the facility. The deal's going to get done. Adam Schefter said it is getting done today, and they do expect he could be in uniform on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers. Amazing.
I mean, I thought he was already here. I thought maybe he flew out last night because he knew the deal was coming, so he already wanted to be here. So he got on the plane and flew out from wherever he was, probably from Vegas, and got here to be here in the morning.
The word is they were. I think Joe Douglas had been working on this for a couple of days, and they were just hitting the snag of the salary. The Raiders didn't want to pay anything.
Any salary. That's
the Jets. Crazy. Yeah, the Jets were trying to have them pay some of it, and eventually they gave in and just said, fine, let's just get this thing done.
Right.
So Adams must have known if something's going to happen, let me get to New York and start getting ready. How much do you think he's going to, do you think, can he, because of his experience with Rodgers, can he step on the field and just play?
Absolutely. That's like when I was playing anywhere that you can take me to a Mike Pettin defense or a Rex Ryan defense, I could jump right in. It didn't matter. It's like the same language. And especially for him, because he's not so dependent on everybody else. He's out there Y. You can always put him at X, right? You can always put him anywhere. So, he can walk in tomorrow. He played that system longer than any system he's ever played in his life. So the verbiage, the concepts, he understands the splits, everything. That's why I never took the Saints seriously. Because that's the whole verbiage, new system. Yeah, you play with the player.
That's the only reason why.
Right. But I didn't take him seriously because how difficult it is to learn the nuance of the routes in the middle of the season, not have no mini camps, no training camps, anything, not understanding the verbiage. Yeah. They got to damn near tell you what route you're running every time and what your sight adjustments is. He goes here and you can make the adjustment immediately, and Davante Adams understands what's going on. So this is Woody Johnson said, hey man, I'm throwing everything, all my chips into the middle of the table.
Oh, you could tell. They're all in. They have to be. But they are. And you know what? You could say they have to be. You could say all these things. This is like Greedy said, this is a desperate team, but it's still the right thing to do.
Right.
And it's true. But when you have Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old and you only have him for a year or two at best, 2 years, maybe this buys you another year because Davante Adams of the contract.
Yeah, he wouldn't do Davante like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's like if this is your window, of course you go up. This is now Rams F them picks. Yeah. It has to be.
Basically.
You get Stafford. Aaron Donald doesn't have much time left in the league. This is when you go all in. They have to do it. They did it. Now, of course, it's got to turn into something on the field because right now, after watching last night, you can add a player to this offense and think maybe they'll get to 28 points or 30 points in this if they have Davante Adams, if the things look like it did last night. But that defense now all of a sudden is an issue. You're plugging holes, Bart, all over the freaking place. And the last I checked, Davante Adams can't kick a football.
CJ Mosley's toe. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something else that people don't realize.
What?
If this is going to be Davante Adams is going to be here for 2 years, Get ready to say goodbye to C.J. Mosley this year.
Why C.J. Mosley? What does he have to do with it?
You have to create
Money.
He used to make $15 million a year. Sherwood's been playing good in his place. This means that now Quentin Williams has to step up. Quincy Williams has to step up and be the new linebacker leader, and he doesn't make that much money. So get ready to say goodbye to him next year. He's been in the league for a long time.
He's been off the field more than he's been on the field as a Jet.
Well, yeah,
crazy.
But then again, next year, because of the struggling, in my opinion, like I've been around a long time, right? Put it like this: when I came here, right, the Jets were in a similar situation. They paid Calvin Pace, they paid Chris Jenkins, they brought in Alan Faneca, they brought in Damon Woody. The next year, they brought in myself. They brought in Lito Shepard, brought in Jim Leonard, Trevor Price. So every year, you would watch people that they paid leave. First year, it was Faneca, right? After having a Pro Bowl, after going to the Pro Bowl, it was Faneca.
I remember this.
The next year, Damon Woody.
Mm-hmm.
The year after that, Chris Jenkins. Actually, it was Chris Jenkins and Damon Woody same year, right? Because he hurt himself twice. So he went 2 years with us, and they got rid of him. Then eventually it was myself, right? It was Kerry Rhodes. So what I'm trying to say is, like, watch the dots, right? C.J. Mosley won't be here next year, in my opinion, because they're going to have to create space. Hassan Reddick is one of these things where they actually need probably Hassan Reddick to play, but they also need his salary cap space, because if he walks away, then you void that contract.
They need him for this year, but they don't need him beyond this year. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. But for this year, you got to ask yourself, damn, if he's not going to come in and be like a dominant player and, he's not up to speed, we need some defensive tackle. They need to make some more trades. I mean, we talk a lot about recently in New York. We've seen teams within New York make trades with each other, unlike ever before. I mean, if I'm the Jets, if Hassan Reddick walks away and I get that salary cap space, I'm calling for Azeez Ojulari. I'm making a call, because when Thibodeau comes back and Burns comes back, they got their pieces. I'm trying to get a guy like Azeez Ojulari. Like they have to get somebody that can be disciplined on the edge and play at a high level. They need to find a fat guy, man. Like, and I was laughing and everybody was laughing. I was with Willie yesterday, and I was like, man, listen. I was like, how old is Al Woods? Like 50? He was like, nah, man, I don't know. I'm like, okay, how old is he? He's 37 years old. But last year he was playing well. I tell you what,
until he got hurt. Yeah.
That's a dude you ain't going to move. I ain't going to watch him get thrown out the club. See, the thing is, teams are going these double tight ends, and the Jets are just getting thrown out the club.
Yep.
Listen, you think, okay, my point. You think that's going to work if your first matchup is against the Baltimore Ravens and you can't plug up no holes?
Oh, you mean the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be able to win that matchup if you can't plug no holes, bro? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You think how Kansas City be moving people up off the club when Pacheco come back? You think you ain't going to you got to plug some holes, man. Like, you can't, like, the Jets are little. Right? Remember how we talked about the how hard it was for the Jets to go against Boston because the Boston got so much length?
You mean the Knicks?
The Jets
you're making an NBA comparison.
Yes, I'm saying size.
Celtics. Yeah, the
size
Celtics had more length, and they obviously had Porzingis. The Knicks didn't have any big people.
And the Jets are little.
Yeah.
Mike McDonald, skinny and little.
Yep.
Clemens, ineffective and not talented. Right? You got Kinlaw, who had to put on 35 pounds because he was getting thrown out the club. So he's not really – he's like a fake – whatever his weight is, he's
probably
fake
not
weight.
used to playing it that way.
Right. But also, like,
so they don't have a Snacks Harrison. Like, they don't have somebody
they don't have
that in the middle.
I want you to look at like the Baltimore Ravens, right? They got Travis Johnson and they got Pierce. Both of those dudes like 340. And then they got the guys on the outside. Yeah. Thing is, and then guess what? Those little guys, Solomon Thomas at 280, get thrown out the club because he's this small.
280, little guy.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
280, right? Get thrown out the club because he's like Vernon Goldstein. He's like a muscle dude. He's ripped up, lean, good guy. He's protecting a former safety and a 5'10", 220-pound linebackers. Both of their linebackers 220. So the same thing that we watched happen to Dallas, where eventually like teams just start running the ball right down their throat, is eventually going to happen to the Jets once they realize,
well, it is
hey,
happening.
These dudes are little.
It's happening. They're already running down their throat.
Right. I mean,
we're seeing it at
Tennessee,
game after game. It's a hot knife through butter.
Yeah,
with the way
Tennessee ran down their throat
in the middle.
The 49ers ran down their throat.
Yeah.
And like you can have all these elaborate schemes and great calls, but if you can't anchor and teams can just throw you out the way, they're gonna say, you know what? You can have those corners out there all you want. One, we'll make that corner tackle. Two, we're going to run the ball right down your throat because there's nothing y'all can do about it. And it just becomes a matter of physics.
So you'll say, all right,
they got a lot of work to do.
To put a bow on it, the Jets trade for Adams is fine. It'll help the offense, but it still doesn't fix a problem that is becoming for you a glaring one on the defense, which is the front line is not big enough.
Yeah, people will look at the final score like, oh, man, they held Josh Allen 215. They did this.
Again, Bart, they're two doinks away from winning the freaking game. Right? 2 doinks. Who hits the post twice?
But you know what the two doinks
that.
But you know what the two doinks are? That's the football guy saying, come on, man, we gave y'all a Hail Mary. We gave you +1.
Yeah, Hail Mary was
we took 6 and we gave you +1 because we gave you 7. Okay. So, like, stop.
So that's the 6 we got back?
So
Aaron Rodgers,
so you got to score.
The first time he's ever done the Hail Mary, though. He's a specialist at it.
4 times. Yeah, I get it, but he did it 4 times. He's probably thrown it a lot more than that.
I'm just like, it to me is crazy to think that they've lost 3 in a row and by a total of 10 points. And their kicker, who was so reliable last year, has not been reliable this year.
I mean, he's kicked in those elements, right? We know
There's no excuse. No. He should have made them.
I'm not trying to make an excuse.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying, like it's.
He didn't play to win correctly, and like I don't know what it is. Good kickers this year aren't kicking well because Tucker hasn't kicked well in Baltimore. Yeah. Like the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Like,
well, you could again the trade is something that I think it was almost like the Karl Anthony Towns trade. I felt like it was inevitable. Like you just felt like it was too obvious.
About 2 years. They've been trying to do it last year.
So that gets done. So Vegas reacts. ESPN bet changed some of the odds. All right. So I'll give you some of these here for the Jets. It's not dramatic, but it's still, they improved. So for the Super Bowl, how about this? Let's start with the playoffs. Just to make the playoffs, they were at +155. It is now improved to +145. Okay. So there's that. No, I'm sorry. I have this backwards. You know what? Give me a second. Because
all right, well, I'll talk while you go. You look at it
backwards.
You look at the two teams. You look at the 2 teams that are 2 and 4, and I believe that both teams are going to be in the playoffs.
Here it is.
That's Cincinnati Bengals, and I think the Jets. Now, can they get hot enough? To win the division? Well, they got one against Buffalo that they have to win, and then they have to go on the road. I think at least 11 is going to have to win this division.
And it's still possible. So the division is still up. All right. So make the playoff. I was right. So to make the playoffs, it went from +155 to +145. To win the AFC East, +650 to +500. So, again, it improved their ability to win the East, despite the fact that they lost last night. And now they're already, a game and a half back. Because
Buffalo's out of play. Buffalo's out of moves. Like they get James Cook back. They need to make a trade for like a Christian Kirk, Mari Cooper, or somebody like that. Because it was apparent yesterday, outside. Okay, I'm sorry.
Let me just finish the odds. So to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl, they went from 20-1 odds to 18-1. And then to win the Super Bowl, which is something that we all just can't even fathom.
Yeah.
They improved from 40-1 to win the Super Bowl to 35-1. So Vegas sees this as enough of an improvement or an addition that does improve the Jets' ability to win. And the first thing you want to do is just end this, decade-plus long streak of not making the playoffs. Start there. The division right now is not in your control because of what happened last night. It was there to be controlled. You lost it. But still, this move signals a lot of things. What does it signal for you? 800-919-3776. So we will get to calls. We will get to your reactions to all of this and more.
They got a light schedule.
Then the schedule and all that, yes. And of course, we do have the baseball to get to, everybody. Both the Mets and the Yankees get wins, and it was what a night it was on the baseball side of things, and the Yankees will continue it tonight.